Hi, Shirley here, and today I would like to talk about Pluto-Mercury aspects in the natal chart. Now, why would I do a video on this very specific issue? Well, because I saw some videos about the aspects of Pluto and Mercury in the natal chart. Amazing videos, amazing knowledge. I definitely recommend to look for that and watch other videos. And yet there were issues that I did not see that were mentioned from quite this perspective. So I have another perspective to offer, and then I'm inclined to do a video. So without further ado, Mercury is the fastest moving planet. It's the closest to the sun. Pluto, the slowest moving planet, the farthest from the sun, the hidden. Okay. Mercury is considered the messenger from the sun, from the gods, from the center of the universe to the other planets. It delivers information back and forth. It's the messenger. Pluto is the junkyard of the world. It's the place where we throw the junk, the things that we don't want to deal with. So it's the junkyard of our consciousness. Mercury rules over Gemini and Virgo. So Gemini, words, hand gestures, communication. Virgo, daily routine, details, small things, very detail oriented. So for example, our business transactions that have contractual agreements, so the details in those agreements. Why when we have Mercury retrograde, we say don't sign contracts? Because the details of the transactions between people don't receive support, right? Because what is a retrograde, right? It's an illusion. It's an optical illusion. A planet does not go retrograde. It's just the difference of the speed of the planet and the way we see it from Earth. It creates an illusion that it works backwards, but it doesn't. So everything related to Mercury at this retrograde phase and the shadow phases becomes obscure. So we need to double check to make sure that we see the reality right, because the retrograde also in the natal chart, a retrograde can skew the perception. It can be very creative, but it may be difficult when we need a practical reality. And so Pluto, what it rules is Mars. So again, the depth of the ocean, the depth of the psyche, that which is hidden knowledge, taboo, all that is taboo. Why do we relate Pluto with sexuality? Because currently at our time, sexuality is a taboo. Would we feel the same about Pluto and sexuality if we were living in a time where sexuality is not a taboo at all? Probably not. Other things would be the junkyard of the consciousness. Power issues. Power. Issues of power. Now Mars is actually Mars. Yeah. Scorpio is actually a feminine sign. A lot of people don't know this because they associate Scorpio with war, with violence, with brutality. How can this be feminine? This is deep waters. So deep waters, a deep transformation. The poison is the medicine. Healing. This is also Pluto. What Mercury rules is the nervous system and our thought processes and what we communicate to the world with words. Usually, yeah, depending on the Mercury location. Pluto is what we don't communicate to the world so much. It's what we don't know that we don't know. It's repression of things. It's the things that sink inside and they are in the back of the mind. And so when we have a connection, a contact between Mercury and Pluto, we have a connection between slow processes that take years and complete transformation to fast communication, fast details that work like that. To the nervous system, to the consciousness, to the communication. So the communications, the outward communication, the words that we speak are biased or shaped by the things that we don't know that we don't know. Our subconsciousness, our psychological complexes affect our thinking to a large extent, and they shape the way we speak, the way we communicate, the way we think in a very profound way. Even more so with everyone, but even more so with Pluto-Mercury contacts. So these are the profound thinkers who are exposed to the junk of the consciousness. Now, from an evolutionary perspective, evolutionary astrology, Pluto is the path of the soul of many lifetimes. So there are two ways to look at it. You can see, if you look at it in a linear way, then you can look at it as many lives, the cycles of many lives that the soul has learned and grown through many lives. And that's the theme that the soul is healing from, is learning, is processing, is developing, is growing. Or you can look at it as multiple lives happen simultaneously, which connects us to seeing Pluto as a generational planet, a transpersonal planet, a zeitgeist planet. So we can, integrate these views of many lifetimes happening all at once, or a more linear perception of, life after life after life after life after life, carrying all the traumas, all the memories of generations upon generations that went through a certain theme of trauma in their lives. And so you take a small planet, tiny planet, detail-oriented planet, communication planet, fast delivery planet, fast-moving planet, and you connect it with the slow, deep, tremendous planet is Pluto. Many interesting things happen. So the first thing is that the Pluto pulls Mercury. It sort of, think about a heavy ball that moves slowly, tied in a rope to a fast-moving ball. Now, what would happen? Mercury is being pulled. So the strings of our consciousness are being pulled by our subconsciousness. And Mercury is detail-oriented. So Mercury can go fast around the detail. That usually is not an issue to process, depending on the Mercury location. Yeah, but for Mercury, it's not a big deal. Okay, you read a book, you hear a song, and you process the data, and you move on. But it is also detail-oriented. So a word in a song, a way of framing a discourse, an opinion that someone has, triggers Pluto. So let's give a concrete example, okay? There is a discourse around abortion. And this discourse is framed pro-life or pro-choice. Now let's say the native is supportive of allowing abortions, at least in certain cases. And we have 10 natives. 9 out of 10 would say, I am pro-choice. The Pluto-Mercury person would either go, oh yes, kill them children, of course, I'm pro-choice. You know? Or he would go and say, to send your children to a war where they see rape, where they take part in murder, where they see dead and butchered bodies, all for the sake of, having more oil for the country. This is pro-life. But to try and minimize the trauma of, for example, a child or a woman who has been raped or is in this or other life, and the idea of the baby coming through the canal, the birth canal, can trigger the memory of the cells and traumas of being raped, of being abused, of brutally, and overflow this thing, and the desire to minimize the trauma and allow this person to live a good life and make it easier for her to abort the child that right now she's not able to raise. This is pro-choice and this is not pro-life. No, that's the Mercury Pluto thing, and it could be the other way around. You can do the same thing with the other opinion. Because what's triggered within the Pluto-Mercury person is the trauma of many generations. It's heavyweight stuff that are triggered from a framing of a discourse, from a word. Okay? So this is something that's the reason that Pluto, Mercury people are so sensitive to words and so sensitive to details and so sensitive to the hidden messages that other people put out, and so obsessive about getting into the truth, because they need to create they are exposed to a lot of data, and they need to make to make order in this chaos. Think about Mercury rules Virgo. Think about a Virgo. One good example. I like Beyonce, and I saw a video of hers producing one of her shows, and she wanted lights on the stage, candles on the stage, and they brought candles, and her response was, "But why are they like too white? Why are they not off-white?" And that was a Virgo in action. She's Virgo's sun. That was a Virgo in action. And why does this happen? It's not that she's a cruel person or that she doesn't appreciate the people. It's that the Virgo energy is so sensitive to the details that they feel uncomfortable in the body. Something is itchy and they need to take this itch out. And they're like, the fact that the candles are not in the right shade is changing something in like the senses. They get discomfort. And then this is how they know the finer details, because they're so sensitive to this. They're very sensitive people. Okay, so imagine that with the Pluto. Okay, then a single word arouses the traumas of generations, and so the person has to make order in this chaos. And they have to get to the truth, because it's a survivalistic thing. They have so much pressure on their consciousness that if they don't, dissect the data, if they don't make sense of the data, if they don't bring this here, what, oh, dang, I forgot the name. Yes, a psychiatrist and psychologist that talks about Dan Siegel. He talks about bringing this brain, to the upstairs brain. He calls it the upstairs brain. He just explains it like this. And you have here the whole emotional triggers, the overflowing, the amygdala. And here you have the conscious, the frontal cortex. And this is where you use, this is where you calculate things. This is where you focus on the shape, on the color of a tree, and you count things. And this helps you to reduce the pressure on the limbic system. And for a Pluto-Mercury person, that kind of approach can be very good. And they have to put it to words and find exact words to express the depth of the hidden, that which is despicable, or that which you cannot find words for. They have to find words for. They have to, for themselves, because otherwise they cannot deal with so much mental pressure. Mental, right? Mercury, mental. So if you give good direction to this energy, these people can become very clear thinkers, but they have to heal this aspect. There's always healing around Pluto, and there's always healing around action aspects. And so, the friends of Pluto-Mercury person. First things first is to take a step back from the trigger. Take a step back from the person. Own your triggers. Say, okay, this is trigger something in me. I need to sit with myself now. I don't know, it triggers something in me. I need to sit with myself now. Let's not talk about this right now. And take your time and space, and this will be more space than time than usual. Now, Mercury is fast. It wants to resolve things. Pluto is slow. So it could be that something trigger you, and it would take a couple of months for you to figure out why are you so triggered. Or it can take a couple of hours, yeah? But it would take more time than the usual person, because it is Pluto related. And the trigger, you would feel sometimes like you have extraordinary reactions to ordinary things. That's a trigger, okay? So taking a step back from the trigger, not ignoring the trigger, not deciding that you're never going, that you're going to do everything to avoid the trigger, just taking a step back to process things with yourself so that you will be able to come back in time. The next best friend of a Pluto-Mercury person is a mantra. I agree to disagree. Whenever you express your opinion and somebody attacks you, bashes you, or innocently disagrees with you, right? Or innocently wanting to show you a different aspect of something that you say, doesn't mean they come in peace. Sometimes they come in peace. You have to understand that. The best thing you could do is, I agree to disagree. Respect, I agree to disagree. It is your best friend. It is going to give you so much peace, mental peace that you need so deeply. Because Pluto rules Gemini. Pluto loves sometimes to play the devil's advocate and is aroused by a good argument. Mercury in Gemini. Gemini is aroused by a good argument sometimes. It's revitalized by the exchange of ideas. Pluto slows this process down because this is exchange of traumas. So the potential for deep communication is very deep, but it's slower and it's more emotional. And this is something you will need to work with, to accept. You can't go the Mercury way all the time. Maybe a part of you is eager to learn and to study and to argue and to present your argument and to hear their argument, but you find that your body is not, that your psyche is not able to participate in this discourse. And so you could be rushing into an argument and, rushing into your trigger sometimes. And you will need to learn to slow down, slow your thinking process down. It does not mean being... it does not mean being stupid. It means being meticulous in your thinking. This will really help you. And saying I agree to disagree releases It opens space for you. You agree to disagree. Now it's time for you to go inside, and this is the third best friend of a Pluto-Mercury person. Sit with yourself and see what's coming up. All the junk that you're purging. Purge, 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 purge. Because you are purging generational trauma around this small framing, these small words, these small paradigms. It reminds you of so many big things that you may be surprised by the immensity of it. That's a Pluto trauma. That's a generation upon generation upon generation. It's not for nothing that I spoke about evolutionary astrology. Because this is not just, some bad trauma that happened in your childhood. It's not only that. It's generational, planet. It's not just your personal trauma, which is difficult to deal with, right? It can be triggering. It can, cause a reaction. But this is something way, 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 way deeper. So let yourself purge and purge and purge and write down. Mercury is also to write on paper. Write down, paper, Mercury. Write down all that you feel, all that you think, all that comes up in you. Write it down. So the fourth best step of a Mercury-Pluto person is find a person who thinks exactly as you do on this topic. This is crucial. Because now you are going to vent. And the purpose of this communication is to find a person you can vent with. A person who thinks exactly as you think about this topic. Fine, we have the internet now. It's also a mercurial thing, social media. We have groups. We have a place to find like-minded people if we make the effort. And then you find this person and you vent. And vent 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 and vent. All that you wanted to say to this person you disagree with, you just, vent it out. This is how you take the energy out with words. You take the energy out of your body. You might want to use your body in certain ways. Yeah. You might want to dance it. You might want to release it. You might want to shake your body. It's also good, but also words, especially words. Write it down, vent, talk to someone, this exchange of information. Yeah. Talk with someone who is like-minded and vent. That will release the junk that you've been carrying for generations and generations and generations that you didn't know. And allow it to be. Because sometimes Mercury thinks, what's the big deal? Oh, what's the drama? What's all the emotional baggage around it? Mercury is not so emotional. It's a thought process. It's thinking. It's not the moon that is the mind, that is psychological, that is, that's the emotions, the psychology, the emotional patterns of thought. Mercury is, the logic. So Mercury will have to accept that there are other elements in the thinking process and, use the logic to say, okay, all these things can cause bias in my thinking. So I need to do that and that and that in order to clear my thinking. Logical. This is how you explain it to the upstairs mind, to the Mercury mind. And so after you have released all the energy that was loaded in you around these topics, then you are healing around this topic. It may make you want to even go through healing around topics you didn't know you have. So maybe you would want to do an energy process to release, or energy hidden knowledge process to release this issue in your life. Maybe you would want to remedy the certain aspect in your chart. Maybe you would want to do healing in the aspects that were triggered in you. to work your way around this in some way. And then you can create a more, you can have an expression of your opinion of this healing. You can write a post, you can write a book, you can have a lecture, you can express yourself, and you take this information that you were exposed to and speak it. And present. When you released the energy, that intense energy around this topic, then you are left with a more logical presentation of the topic, of the hidden, and then you can do something with it. And you can choose the forums. You can choose forums of like-minded people. You can choose forums of people who may not think the same as you, but are very open-minded to hear you. You can see how sensitive you are, how much can you contain. So sometimes being, sometimes being an academic person who has to teach people, or who is participating in a discourse and writing a thesis, may be something you want to take a break from until you heal those topics, because a discourse can be very triggering on on your Pluto. So you may be very logical, you may display even larger, even stoic approach to intellectual thinking in the matters that do not concern your Pluto, and you might be extremely intelligent and well spoken and have a powerful presence and be very appreciated. But then you arrive at the topic that is ruled by your Pluto, and you become like a abrasive, aggressive teenager that won't listen and won't let you speak, and depending on the position of your Pluto and Mercury. And people won't know what happens with you. Like, why are you so obsessed? Why are you so fanatic? You used to be so, so controlled, so logical, so open-minded. So this is something that can happen with Pluto-Mercury people. They're not always going to be this fanatic person who is just vehemently speaking about something. They will be stoic sometimes, and then when it hits the Pluto trigger, they lose it if they don't know how to handle their Pluto. So sometimes, writing a thesis on the topic that touches your Pluto issue might not be the best idea, unless you have tremendously deeply healed this Pluto issue. If you have a Pluto-Mercury, you might want to wait with that. You might want to write your thesis in a topic that's interesting to you, but not, something that if somebody challenges your view there, you're going to, lose it completely, because that would do you harm. It would cause a lot of frustration. Depending on the aspects, it can, interfere with different houses, with different areas in your life. Another thing I wanted to say on this topic, giving direction to energy. Use the power of words to give direction to energy. You can set an intention to heal your Pluto issue, and even if you feel like you don't know how healing can happen, set an intention to heal the Pluto issue in your life. And you can write it down on a paper and put this paper in a hidden place, or you can add to this blessing, or to this prayer, or to this wish, or to this intent, a ritual that works with the physical plane. For example, use a skull that is the symbol of Pluto, and put the Pluto energy and the skull next to the paper where you wrote your intent. Okay, these remedies are, there is a great method of remedies, of astrological remedies, by Nicolas Stojanovic, who's recently died. And he really talks about looking at the degree, the sign, the planet, and the house and the aspects, and adding those energies together to create something beautiful in the material plane. So it could be, for example, if you have a fourth house Mars, paint the door of your house red, or have a sword in your home, which is not something you would want if you don't have a Mars. You know, you wouldn't want the energy of Mars at home if you don't have Mars in the fourth house. But if you do, you want the energy to go to the sword. You want to use the energy of Mars in this way so that it will reduce arguments. You know, you want to be physically active at home. You want maybe to work out at home. Okay, and having a Pluto placement, or having a square, or having an opposition, or having, you know, prominent Mars, having fire, a lot of prominent fire signs, this is not good or bad. It literally means you have a lot of energy to work with, and you need to give direction to this energy. And a small thing can go a long way. For example, think about having, a puppy in your house. And you have this puppy in your house, and if you don't teach it, how to do this, how to do that, you take it to agility, and you arouse the intellect of the dog. Fetch this, fetch that, learn how to do this, learn how to open and close the door, learn how to save and protect the child. If you don't do this, the dog is going to eat your whole house and still be angry. And you will think, oh my gosh, I thought Labradors, for example, are so sweet. Why is this dog being so horrible? Because there is a tremendous amount of energy that you need to give direction to. If you give it the good direction, you will get the best dog ever. You would get a dog that does what you say, that is the best and loyal friend, that is a great protector, that can go to competitions of agility, that can help people who deal with people on wheelchairs, people who deal with certain inability or disability. Okay, great energy, but you need to give it direction. So the good way to give direction to Pluto-Mercury energy is to use something small, right? A word, something small, Pluto, a word, a mantra, okay? And combine it with the Pluto energy. So to have a mantra that you repeat and expose yourself to as related to your Pluto issue. For example, let's say the issue is an eating disorder. Okay, so depending on your level of readiness, you can say, and the eating disorder is because you don't feel your body is beautiful enough, or skinny enough, or fat enough. So depending on your level of readiness, you find the mantra that is as close as to saying, it is a pleasure for me to be in my body. Or, it is a pleasure for me to be in my body. And maybe you won't be able to say that exactly, but you find the closest thing to that you can say without triggering too much reaction from your Pluto issue. And you look at it not as an affirmation even, but as a Zen saying. Like you say these words and you expose your energy to their energy, and there is a transformation that happens there. And you also want to work with the material plane. You want to ground it, so you can rub your root chakra with a massage oil that includes, for example, essential oils. So you can rub your root chakra with relevant essential oils for your healing, and then sniff the oils. You can integrate your senses, and you integrate the material plane, your physical body. You begin to do something with your physical body. Okay? So this is setting an intention, using small gestures, small things can go a long way with healing the Pluto issue mentally. And then as you heal, you become less and less agitated and less triggered by your Pluto issues, by those generational issues. You become more empowered, and this is you're going to become a clear speaker, a clear thinker as related to your Pluto issues. That's the highest meaning, that's the highest order. But you need to do recovery because this is working with creative, working with the very different energies that are very complementary, but they're different. They're extremes, right? You know, small things, fast thinking, detail oriented, generational trauma, huge gunk, slow moving, the healing from the depths of what you don't know, bringing light to darkness. So you could eventually be a person who speak about taboo things in a very illuminated way, in a very clear way, in a very intelligent and logical way. You can speak about that which people find no words to and describe it in words, which may help some people find the words for what they cannot express in their life. You can be the key to someone else's freedom. But you need to work these phases, you know, to take a step back, to agree to disagree, to purge and purge and purge, to find a like-minded person and vent, to express your opinion. What you also need to watch for is expressing your opinion before you vented. Because then you would take this yang energy, this direction of speech, and you would be so passionate and so intense with your thinking and your word and your truth that the more you push against an opinion or a paradigm, you're going to get swallowed within it, within the same intensity, because you invest, you know, how does it work with energy? You have this wall, and you go into this wall and you push and push and push and push and push. What happens eventually? You become inside the wall. You break the wall, but it's working all over you. And then you see this crisis causes you to change, you know, the complete other way. So what you want to do is to release and develop some stoicism around your opinions, your thought processes, and the details of your contracts. Your contracts even. Yeah, depending on the Mercury placement, the Pluto-Mercury placements, your contracts. It could be that you want to be the person who does not attach themselves to contracts. Making sure, for example, let's say 7th house, that if you marry, the contract does not oblige you in such a way that you cannot get out of. Something very, you know, this is something very practical, but also in the more, you know, philosophical or psychological, or, you know, deeper. You will grow to develop this stoicism, because the minute you're being pushed, you know, someone triggers you and you want to push against them, you need to go back and you need to remain in your place and take your time and do your venting and do your purging, and then the clarity will come up. So it can be that you will slowly change or transform your worldview to contain more aspects of reality, or it can be that you will become even more clear about that which you believed at first place, but you will be able to represent this view and this truth in a way that doesn't push it and doesn't push against. It just exists there. And this has power. You know, the more centered person in the room, the person with the deepest breath, the person with the strongest presence is the person that people are swayed to. And this can give you a sense of power, but you will not be you would be empowered, but you will not take the fact that people sway, that you sway people. So you know, you will not become ego inflated, because this is also a danger, right? Because you feel you push against, and then you begin to sway people, and you know, and feel like, oh, this crazy, you know, power sensation. What can I do with it? How can I play with it? Mercury can do that. So mind control, mind games. Mercury is also games, playing games with the mind, and not in a bad way. You know, being creative with the arguments, doing debates, yeah. But you add Pluto to it, it can come really off. But when you develop this stoic approach to your opinions, to your Mercury matters, then you can allow yourself to be stoic as related to power. So if a person agrees with you or disagrees with you, it doesn't sway you so much. You can think and let others think for themselves. And this is, I guess, what you know, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge, especially with hard aspects, right? One, you know, Mercury pulls here, Pluto pulls here, and then, you know, they join powers, and then the joint powers pull you even stronger in some direction, and you need to remain, you know, to purge, to vent, to take excess energy out of your system, to work with it in a beautiful way, so that you can become a clear thinker. And this is also a person that can heal their nervous system. So, you know, the cliche with Pluto-Mercury people is they can be fanatic, they can be addicted to conspiracy theories, they can be paranoids, but they can also heal the nervous system, the thought processes, the Pluto traumas, and become such a clear thinker and clear speaker about taboo subject, about the hidden. You know, one of the, you know, spiritual leaders that I could say, I don't know her chart, but I could say is a good example for this stoicism is actually Gigi Young. Because what she does in her channel, she talks about things that are taboo, things that are conspiracy, things that that people are afraid to talk about, but she talks about it in an intellectual way. For example, if she will present a ritual, or let's say she would talk about, you know, blood rituals. So she wouldn't just present it, oh, this is satanic, this is this, this is that. She would talk about the practice and the inverted way to practice it. How it was originally used by priestess, for example, by people who offered the blood, and the blood had energy, good energy, and it was just, you know, a bit of blood that had good energy. And then it was inverted. Okay, so it is not the person who is fanatic and conspiracy theorist and this and this and that, but it's the person who can speak about taboo topics, about occult topics, about the hidden, about that which we can't find words to, and finds the word to speak about it in an intelligent way, in a logical way, in a balanced way. Okay? That is the potential of a Pluto-Mercury person. It takes time to heal that. But the journey is beautiful. The journey is immense. So that's the Pluto-Mercury. And I will, you know, take a card. I will draw a card. 2 cards apparently. Oh, a couple of cards. So, be patient. Oh, release prejudice. Oh, projections. It's such a huge topic with Pluto. Release prejudice. Own your triggers. Own your projections. If a person thinks differently than you, it doesn't necessarily mean anything about them as a person. Sometimes it does. But sometimes a person can agree with you and be, a real scum. Know the price of being, too closed off. And this is when the Pluto side pulls in. You can pull your communication and not express what is in your heart and in your mind. And this has a price. You need to express yourself. Really important. And agree to flow. Another difficult task for both an oriented sign, detail-oriented sign like Virgo, for example, and definitely for Pluto. But Pluto asks you to flow, which is something people don't, people associate Pluto with power, but it's not just power. Pluto asks you to let go of what no longer serves. That's the lesson of Pluto. Whenever you have a Pluto transit, why is it so difficult? Because it grabs you where you are most attached and grabs it away from you if you don't let go easily, and it will take it away anyway. So Pluto asks you to let go and be compassionate with yourself, because it's your deepest trauma. It's the things you most attached to, the opinions you're most attached to, it's the paradigms you cherish the most, it's the emotions related to it, experiences related to it. It's maybe a shape of your identity, depending on, if your Mercury or Pluto is in the first house, the identity. So be compassionate with yourself, open your heart, and be compassionate with you if you don't, if you lash out, or if you make an enemy instead of by trying, if you make a point and make an enemy on the way. The biggest lesson of Pluto-Mercury is, to make a point without making an enemy, and it's a challenge, but you definitely have what it takes to complete it. So I'm the possessor of a Pluto-Mercury opposition. In fact, Pluto is oppositioning in my 7th house, near the 8th in Scorpio, and my Mercury is in Aries in the 1st house. In whole sign it's the 2nd, but Placidus is the 1st. So identity, developing, understanding that I'm not my opinions, and understanding that the Pluto, the Pluto is in the 7th, so both Pluto is what you don't know that you don't know about yourself, and the 7th house is what you don't know about yourself. So understanding that which came to me from my significant others, or my bosses, or people who try to mind control me, or to use occult power to control me. Okay, these are hidden aspects and hidden abilities that I have. And to learn how to be present in my body and my energy, and to understand that I'm also, for years, I used to have bosses who were Virgos, and I saw they are so well-meaning sometimes, but they're so controlling, and they work too hard, and they're so detail-oriented, and they make their lives hell. And I thought, what are they doing to themselves? I did not realize I have this Virgo energy in me, that I'm completely detail-oriented. I would look at the most perfect thing and I could find flaws in it. I could find how it could be better, including myself. Yeah. So for me, with this aspect, I had to learn that my mental processes can show me, through meeting another person, what I have to heal, and I would have to take a step back quickly, because otherwise it would be the other person would be taken away. I would have to let this person go immediately, because otherwise they would be taken from me in a very cathartic process. So communication was an issue. And the significant other or the boss could cause a mental transformation, a psychological, a psychic transformation that I had to integrate and to understand that this Pluto is an aspect, a hidden aspect of me. Not in the sense that, you know, I'm a psychopath that tries to mind control people. that not necessarily is what I mean. But to understand that I have a Pluto too. And I need to be aware of my power, of my mental power. Because if I'm not aware of my mental power, it means that I give my mental power away, and then I see it coming, you know, in a roundabout way from the other person. So difficult aspect, difficult placements, but good healing. You know, good healing. So I'll see you in the next video. And meanwhile, let me know if you had prominent Pluto-Mercury placements. How do you experience it in your own chart? How have you grown? What are your remedies? You know, what would you offer other people to do? And if you have more questions for me or requests for me, then you can write me in the comments below, or write me on Facebook or Instagram, and I will, you know, if I can, then I will reply it. Depending, you know, on my knowledge and level of knowledge and the tools that I have to give answers to. So if you like my videos, I always forget to say that. Subscribe to me if you like my videos. Click the bell, because they have this stupid thing that you can subscribe, but you will not get notifications for all the videos unless you click the bells. So so yeah, you have to do both. And comment, you know, like this video, because it helps the algorithm, it helps more people to find it if you want people to find it as well. And comment down below. Let me know that, you know, if you have something nice to say, comment down below. If you have nothing nice to say, you know, go and purge and vent with a friend. And I'll see you in the next video.